Here we go. Hello, everyone. Oh, very disorganised today. And my hair's got to that stage where it's too short and too long at the same time, and I can't even work out which way I'm trying to make it go. Anyway, hi. God. Hello. How nice to see you, Karen. It's very warm here as well. It's about 30 degrees out there. We've just been for a walk with the dogs, hence my little pink cheeks. And I ran out of time to even try and chill my bottle, but it's from the air-conditioned glass room, so hopefully it'll be all right. Hello, Fiona and David. We're definitely feeling a bit Sydney-like today, a little bit steamy. Hello, Kay. How you going? Karen, I know you're in Melbourne on the weekend and I forgot. I hope you had a nice time. I hope the Christmas party was really good. I would have really struggled to catch up with you on Saturday anyway, so it was probably a good thing that we didn't try and organise anything. But tell you what, it's been full on. Peter and Karen having a busy day. So you've got your Pinot and your Brett's Sepp flavoured chips. Fantastic. I have to mention you're painted to ceiling. Sorry, Karen, I don't understand. I'm stuck to the ceiling? My head's hitting the ceiling. I know. So we've got different chairs and different table in here, and everything's all at the wrong weight, the wrong height, and I'm a bit confused. So did you paint the ceiling? It's a different colour. No, it's not a different colour. It's just a different. There we go. It's it's just the light in here today, and the fact that I'm lower and the table is a bit higher. So I'm and I think I've got too many books under my computer. So it's all very out of, and Polly's here too somewhere. Where are you, Pol? Yeah, there she is. She's not eating her dinner because Jill and Richard have gone out and she's sulking. Still 30 degrees at the Dyes. Excellent. You started the wine early. Cotty and John put a chilled wine sleeve on the Pinot. I think that's absolutely correct. It does look really brown, I know. But maybe if I go, that's where I usually am. You usually don't see the ceiling. So usually so maybe my computer should be up higher. Hang on a sec. Because it does look, the angle looks really weird, doesn't it? How's that? If I do that and then I do, that's still not really working. Oh, well. Anywho, change is as good as a holiday. So, Pinot Noir, and I've got to show you. Hi, Alison. Good to see you. Sorry you've still got the cold. I'm seriously still recovering from my cold that I had before I went to Argentina. When I came home, I kind of lost my sense of smell again. It was really weird. Anyway, I hope you're feeling better soon. And I've still got my little cough and my little wheeze in my throat. So it's a nasty one. There's some nasty bugs going around out there. Anyway, we soldier on. Hello, Shell and Andrew. Trying the chipotle sauce on a venison backstrap. Yum. With green beans and Brussels. David and Fiona are having linguine with mushrooms, chicken, broad beans, asparagus, capers, and pecorino tonight. Yum, delicious. Well, I have my little mushroom taco, which is looking a little bit sad in its bowl, but when I gather it up, it'll be delightful. And I should get some wine in my glass. Pinot Noir 2016, no less, and get on with this. Feels like we've had a very interrupted few weeks, and I know that's totally my fault for going away to Argentina and then going away to teach MW students, but it feels like we haven't had a proper conversation for a long time. So I'm really looking forward to tonight. Let's hope that all the gods are kind to us. Hello, Lines. How you going? Picking up Bonnie from a friend's house. You have the wine when you go. Beautiful. Sounds great. Anne and Nareem crossed paths at another champagne tasting last week. It is that time of year. Absolutely. Was that at the Armadale Cellars champagne tasting, or perhaps the Prince Wine Store champagne tasting, Nareem? There's quite a few going on at the moment. That does smell nice, doesn't it? I've just got a few little pop-ups coming up on my screen that are distracting me. So turn that off. That's all good. Much better. Whew. Okay, here we are. Armadale. Yeah. Perfect. So cheers to you guys. 2016 Moorooduc Estate Pinot Noir. We had the 2016 Chardonnay a couple of weeks ago, as you'll remember. I'm a little bit croaky tonight, so you'll just have to excuse that. I've got lots of water to keep drinking, and I'm hoping that the wine will make it better rather than worse. I've been talking a lot. I had my little, all of my MW students, well, 14 of them here on the Mornington Peninsula from Sunday to Tuesday, and it was full on, but it was really wonderful. So exciting. Fiona, it's not just because it's full on cherry season. This wine for me always has been super cherry fruited. And I think as it ages, it's just mellowing into that. It's got that beautiful, it's red cherries and black cherries, totally ripe, really juicy. It's just such a gorgeous nose. I could just almost bathe in it. It's got this lovely little, so people talk about volatile acidity as though it's a bad thing. And I think in Pinot Noir, just a little bit of volatile lift is quite an attractive thing, and I certainly see that in this wine. It's probably why these wines would never win a trophy in a wine show, because they've got a little bit too much character sometimes. This one particularly, Morello cherry syrup, absolutely Cotty. So it's red cherries, it's black cherries, it's Morello cherry, and then it's got this little herbal kind of volatile lift, which is just kind of that little, the edge of like a really good raspberry vinegar. It's kind of got a little bit of that tanginess to it without it being vinegary at all. It's just got that little tangy note to it. Alison, you're getting a bit of smoke. Yeah, absolutely. The wine does have a smoked meat kind of aromatic. So that was one of the reasons I thought this would go quite nicely with this mushroom taco recipe with the chipotle sauce. And if you're using the chipotle sauce like Michelle and Andrew are with something else, I think that could be really nice with this. It's going to be quite a gutsy kind of a food and wine match, but hopefully it will work really, really well. David, no, that's the other reason. This wine would never go into a wine show, because wine shows are always about new wines, and most wine shows, particularly the Melbourne Wine Show, is all about 1-year-old wines. So for me, our wines aren't even ready to start tasting when they're 1 year old. So that's another reason that we don't put our wines in wine shows, because they just don't come into their own. Yeah, exactly. Hello, Jeff and Sue. You can stop shouting now. It's okay. It's all right. We're all very relaxed here. It's a beautiful warm day, and we're drinking Pinot. And if you've got it slightly chilled, good on you, because I think it's the worst thing in the world when your Pinot Noir gets warm and soupy. So hopefully you don't have warm, soupy Pinot Noir. If you do, just have your glass and put your bottle of wine in the fridge for 10 minutes, and that will help enormously. Or some of you have said that you've got chilling sleeves on your bottle, which is another really good way to cool it down. Or even get an ice bucket and chuck it in an ice bucket. So when I'm putting together an ice bucket, and people always say, but an ice bucket's only for champagne and for white wine. But if your red wine's a bit too warm, cooling it down with an ice bucket is the most effective way. So you get your ice bucket with about a third to half the bucket full of ice, and then top it up with water so that the ice is nice and loose, and then you plunge your wine in there. For a Pinot Noir, you want to leave it in there maybe 5 or 10 minutes max, and then give it a bit of a swirl around so that the coolness goes through the whole wine, and see how that feels. If it's not cool enough, put it back in the ice. If it's a bit too cool, take it out of the ice, and it's going to warm up really, really quickly. Are there any wine shows for aged wines? Cotty, there are wine shows that try to do aged wines. And in fact, the Mornington Peninsula Wine Show has a provenance section where you have to put in 3 wines from 3 different vintages, and they have to be at least 5 years apart, I think. So the old wine has to be at least 5 years older than the youngest wine. And that's to really show a special vineyard site. So it's a single vineyard, has to be a single vineyard, have to have 3 different vintages, have to have the older wine 5 years, the oldest wine 5 years older than the youngest wine. So yeah, that's quite an interesting concept, and I think it works quite well. But we don't enter that either, because I just think it's easier to have a stance for or against rather than mucking around. And the one time we did enter a wine show and we didn't do very well, Richard got a bit depressed, so it's not worth it. Okay. That's much better, David. Your wine a little bit cooler. Is that what you're talking about? Or yeah. Anyway, let's have a little taste. Karen, I think chilling it slightly is really good. As I say, mine's come out of an air-conditioned room, so it's probably about 18 degrees, which is quite nice. Even a little bit colder than that can work with a Pinot Noir like this. You don't want it to be too cold, because then all the perfume will kind of get subdued and the tannins become quite bitter. But at the moment, the wine feels cooler in my mouth than the room feels and then the air feels around me. So I think I've got that pretty right. It does have a richness to it, but it's also got, at the temperature I've got it, and hopefully this is also showing through for you guys, it's got this lovely kind of cool, fleshy cherry fruit character on the palate. It's more on the palate, it's more like red cherries, maybe even some, excuse me, maybe even some crunchy red plums. But those, when they're fully ripe and still red, and they've got that crunchiness and they've got that lovely acidity to them, but they've got a sweet fruitedness as well, and a juiciness to them. That's what I taste here in this wine on the palate. And again, you stick your nose in, and remember my little trick of keeping your mouth open while you smell wine. You get that smell right in the back of your nasal cavity and the back of your throat, and it really, you can sort of taste the cherry on the back of your tongue as you're smelling it. A little bit of pine forest floor, absolutely, Fiona. And I get that smoky chipotle character as well. So I think the mushroomy forest floor character of the wine is going to work really, really well with the wine. This is a real mushroom friend wine. And if you've got some chipotle sauce as well, that's going to bring in some heat, but also some smokiness and some sweetness, because the chipotle on adobo character in that sauce is spicy and sweet and smoky at the same time. So very, very cool. Joan made spicy mushrooms on sourdough. Yum, delicious. Working well with the wine, bringing through the earthy flavors. The raspberries subdued, though, with the food. Fantastic. Hang on. Cats. Yes, cats do when they sniff, and their little mouths open when they're sniffing. It's very cute. All right, I'm going to have a bite of my taco before it gets completely cold, because street food is made to be eaten straight away, and mine's been sitting around for a little while because I've been abandoned by all my helpers again. It doesn't look very sexy, and it is dripping on me, so I'm going to just take a little mouthful. Oh. The thing I love about this mushroom taco, with the wine, is you've got some really distinctive flavors there. There's the mushroom first, which has been cooked in butter and olive oil and a tiny little bit of truffle oil. Just not, the idea with truffle oil is that you shouldn't really be able to smell it or taste it. It just kind of enhances the flavor of the mushrooms. Salt and pepper, garlic and onion, cooked down slowly, so that lovely kind of intense mushroomy, earthy flavor. The corn, what's it called, that you wrap it up in to make the taco. God, my brain's no good at all today. But the corn flavor of that is just amazing. And then you've got your sour cream and your chipotle sauce, which gives it a bit of creaminess, a bit of sweetness. bit of spiciness, bit of smokiness. It's a simple thing, but it's really tortilla. Thank you, Kay. I think you were all trying to think of the word as well. It took a little while for anyone to come back with that, but thank you very much, Kay, for helping me with my English, or my Mexican, my Spanish, perhaps. But yes, the earthiness and the sort of slightly, I find all mushrooms have a slight pine needly kind of character. Pine mushrooms more so than any others. But even I've got Swiss browns and little mini oyster mushrooms in there, and it's just delicious, kind of meaty, earthy, slightly pine foresty, and it brings out the spice and it brings out the juiciness of the wine. But it does hide a little bit of the fruit. The fruit becomes a little bit more subdued, and you get more of the sort of savouriness going through the wine, which is pretty awesome. Oysters are awesome because they're a bit aniseedy. Oyster mushrooms. I'm like, why are we talking? Fiona, I thought you didn't like oysters, but you're talking about oyster mushrooms, which makes total sense because I just talked about them. And they are a little bit aniseedy, and they've got a really lovely texture to them as well, I think. When you cook them, that's okay. It's okay. I got there. That's the red algae. What? Shell, stop. I'm so confused. And I have a croaky voice. Oyster mushrooms, I think, are fabulous, and I actually like the little teeny tiny ones that you can buy in a punnet. I just slice them up and cook them down, but they hold their texture really well as well. So they've got that lovely flavour, but they also hold their texture. So there's just a little bit of al dente kind of chew to them when you're eating them, which means that you just have a little bit more interest in the texture of the dish. And whether you put it in a tortilla, whether you put it on some toast, whether you stir it through some pasta or put it on some rice, it works. It all works pretty well. Good food and wine match. I'm not going to go back to that until I finish talking to you guys because it's too messy. But believe me, it's pretty delicious. And if you haven't made them and you do like a little bit of a soft taco, they're a really nice thing to serve up. You can put a little bit of, I don't know, some grilled meat on the side, or even in the taco as well with the mushrooms. But just on their own, they're delicious. I've wiped all my lipstick off as well while I was eating that. Oh well. Bad luck, you've got me au naturel now. I ran out of time to even put on my maquillage. Dreadful. Shell, are you talking about the red algae making my brain not work? Or what was that comment about? The red algae making the oysters aniseedy? I'm not quite sure where that comment works, but I'm sure it works really, really well somewhere. I have to say to you guys as well, I am so excited about our trip to Adelaide next year. I've done lots of research in the last week, and so that is on like Donkey Kong. Haha, no oysters in Shoalhaven down there. Oh, they all infected. Well, it's not a good time to eat oysters anyway, so I'd be keeping away from oysters whether they had red algae or not, because at this time of year when it gets warm, they start spawning. I was about to say they get a bit sexy, and that's probably, we don't really need to have those kind of images, but they start spawning, and when they're spawning, their flesh becomes really creamy and kind of rich, and I don't like it personally. I know a lot of people do, but I think we eat oysters. Fiona, even for someone who doesn't like oysters, I think that's absolutely right. They're much better in winter, even though people go, oh, oysters in summer, much better in winter when the water's really cold. McRae gourmet mushrooms have white, yellow, pink, and blue oyster mushrooms. Oh, how awesome. I'll have to check it out. I haven't seen those. How groovy. Kay had some in Merimbula a few weeks back, and they were fine, but probably not so good now. It's getting warmer. Absolutely. No, Alison, I would completely skip oysters for Christmas. I'd have all the other seafoods. I'd have tiger prawns and lobster and Moreton Bay bugs and smoked salmon or gravlax. I'm making my salmon gravlax, beetroot and gin cured salmon gravlax for Christmas, and keep the oysters for later in the year when it gets cooler again. I reckon. But if you like them creamy, go for it. There's nothing wrong with them. They're not bad for you. The texture changes and the flavor changes a little bit, and it's not for me. So that's all I'm saying. Plus, oysters don't go with Pinot Noir, but oyster mushrooms do. Yum. Alison, don't eat shellfish, allergic. We'll stick to salmon then. Good. Tassie oysters shouldn't be too bad for Christmas. Kay, I don't. They'll be better than mainland oysters. And if you want oysters for Christmas, go for it. I avoid them like the plague because I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. I'm incredibly fussy about oysters. I want my oysters to be fresh as fresh. I also want them to be freshly shucked for me minutes before I eat them. I still want the little bit of seawater to be in there with the oyster, and I want them to taste like the ocean. I want them to taste salty and briny and cold and delicious. And so I don't get oysters at Christmas. It's not for me. Anyway, back to Pinot Noir. Oh, I was going to say, actually, before I talk about this Pinot Noir again, because it is opening up, it's getting that aniseed character that you're talking about. The aniseed character that I think Fiona mentioned in the oyster mushrooms, I'm seeing in the wine as well, which I think brings them together even more beautifully. I think this wine has got that little aniseed note to it, little aniseed, fennel, dill, maybe. What's the other herb I'm trying to think of? It'll come back to me in a minute. But there's rose petals and violets in this wine as well as it opens up. It's very floral. It's still got that really kind of fleshy cherry note in it. But it's getting almost like liqueur cherry now as it opens up, as it warms up, as the air gets into it. I think it's pretty awesome. Thyme. No, it's not thyme. It will come back to me, Kate. I do get a little bit of thyme in this, but there's a tarragon. Tarragon was the herb that I was trying to think of. Caraway is nice too, Shell. A bit of bay leaf, absolutely, but tarragon was what I was thinking of, which is a slightly unusual herb to be talking about when you're talking about Pinot Noir. But I chopped up a bit of tarragon to put into the mushrooms, and I just got a whiff of that kind of green, spicy tarragon note in the anise. Yeah, absolutely, Fiona. Fiona's saying that tarragon's in the anise spectrum as well. So I think that's probably where I was coming from in that little revelry. And I'm getting that in this wine. I think it's really delicious. And it's why I think this is a great wine to... It's great to match to mushrooms. It's also great to match to like a roast chicken or even like a cold chicken salad, particularly if you chop and fold a bit of tarragon or a bit of fennel or a bit of dill through it. Gives it that freshness of the herbs, and that works really nicely with this wine on a summer's day. I was actually thinking about a salad niçoise, which is pretty controversial with a wine like this because it's got egg and it's got tuna in it. But I think you can actually get away with salad niçoise and a Pinot Noir like this because the Pinot has enough complexity and enough depth to it to stand up to those strong flavors in a salad niçoise. I think traditionally you'd probably drink a Provençal rosé with a salad niçoise. Maybe our Pinot Gris on skins would be a better match than the Pinot Noir, but I think Pinot Noir could work very, very well with that. And I think when it gets to this time of year and you're thinking, all I want to do is eat salad, then finding the right wine to match to that. Salad and barbecue, I think, is what we go, oh, I feel like a barbecue. I feel like a nice cooling salad. Don't want soup. I don't want toasted sandwiches. I don't want heavy kind of stuff. And I think that that a Pinot Noir, particularly a Pinot Noir, so this is 2016, so this is now 8 years old, and I think that little bit of age on it just kind of softens it and makes it a little bit more approachable with sort of summery flavors. So, and it can coat with a little bit more spice. So if you've got chicken wings with a little bit of a a jerk chicken, Jamaican jerk chicken, kind of a rub on it. If it's got a bit of spice in it and a bit of herbs in it, it can cope with those spicy notes. It can work with nice kind of juicy sausages off a barbie with some nice, you can do some kind of char-grilled vegetables, char-grilled eggplant, char-grilled mushrooms, char-grilled green and red capsicum, chop them all up, make that into a bit of a salad with a bit of feta. That can work really nicely. It's so delicious. So I think people say, oh, it's summer, I don't want to drink red wine, but Pinot Noir is kind of the exception. You can kind of get away with it. You can chill it a little bit, as we were talking about before. And Cotty was just saying that John was listening to a wine podcast where they talked about the increase in chilled red wine on New South Wales and Queensland wine lists. Are there any reds that should never be chilled? I think, Cotty, I would say if you get the chill level right, I don't think there are any red wines that should never be chilled. But we have a problem in Australia that when we chill red wine, instead of cooling it down to sort of 16 to 18 degrees, we stick it in the fridge with the food or the beer fridge with the beer, and we chill it down to 3 degrees. And that's way too cold. That's too cold for white wine, and it's way too cold for red wine. So I think I remember a long time ago, God, back in the late 90s, it was a really hot summer's day. It had been 40 degrees. I was catching up with a friend for dinner. We went to this lovely, it was a pizza restaurant in North Fitzroy, really nice pizza, really good wine list. And they had a really nice half bottle list. And the two of us ordered, we had, I don't know, something to start off with. It was back in those days, I was living in North Fitzroy, so I didn't have to worry about driving home. And we ordered a half bottle of Barolo to have with our pizza that had salami and meaty things on it. And it came out at room temperature, and it was just so disappointing because it was hot, it was soupy, it just tasted awful, and it smelt awful. And so this friend of mine, who was also a wine writer, called the waiter over and said, can you get us some ice? And I didn't really know what he was going to do until he got the ice, and he put 2 ice blocks in his glass and put 2 ice blocks in my glass. And I was horrified. I'm like, you can't do that. You're going to ruin the wine. He said, just wait. And honestly, it diluted it a little bit, but it got it to the right temperature, and it was better, slightly diluted by a couple of ice blocks, and cooler than it was at full strength, too warm. So I think that was, in extreme cases, putting ice in red wine, it's not ideal, but it's better than drinking warm red wine. I think it was very difficult at the time, but it worked really, really well. Peter and Carol have now got their act together, having roti with mushrooms, cream, cheese, and Tabasco sauce, sort of faux tacos. Fantastic. The wine will stand up to Tabasco, absolutely. It does sound very delicious, and I think Tabasco sauce is another thing that is very often used on Mexican food, on tacos and things like that. And when you combine it with a bit of cream cheese or sour cream, then it brings out the sweetness of the cream, the creaminess and sweetness of the cream or the cheese, and it does really nice things with the wine. You don't want it to be too much, and that's always the risk that you put too much on. But it does work very, very well, particularly with a Pinot like this, which has got such lovely juicy fruit 8 years on. Fiona, good question. Yeah, thanks, Alison. It was very traumatizing, but I learnt something very good at the time, so it was good in the end. Fiona wants to know how the vineyards are going fruit set wise. Has the odd weather done good or bad? So the odd weather's been a bit stressful, but I'm very pleased to announce, and I'm touching some wood while I'm saying it because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm very pleased to announce that fruit set is very much through. We have at the moment a really nice crop level on the vines. We may need to do a green harvest if things continue as they are, but we have at the moment, with the weather and the humidity that we've been having in the last week, And I think you guys got a lot more of it while I was in Adelaide, because in Adelaide it was not. That's absolutely right, Fiona. It's like not announcing the pregnancy until 12 weeks. It's absolutely right. But the humidity and the rain's been actually, because it was quite a dry winter, so it's quite good to have some moisture in the soil and a bit of rain going into the dam. But there is a bit more disease pressure as a result, and we're sort of holding our nerve at the moment. We've put a little copper sulfur spray on the vineyard yesterday, I think. We're hoping that will be enough, because Jeremy was saying to me the other day that we've managed to farm this vineyard for the last 3 years completely organically, and it would be really nice to be able to keep doing that. But we're not aiming to be 100% organic, because every now and again we want to have the option to put something stronger on the vines rather than succumb to disease and to fruit that is not perfect. So fingers crossed that things will. The hot weather's lovely. We just need it to be a bit less humid. So hot weather, dry weather from now on. Maybe not too hot, maybe not too dry, because we've only got half a dam full of water. And we're only watering the baby vines. So the vines that are over 5 years old don't get water at all. They just have to handle it, and they do. They've got their roots deep down and they find their own water. But so far so good. Fingers crossed. It's not plain sailing. And when I was talking to other winemakers on Sunday and Monday when we had the MW students around, they're all looking a bit nervous and a bit worried. And maybe Jeremy and Richard just haven't had time to be nervous or worried, because they've been running around like blue-asked flies for the last couple of days, getting wine ready for bottling and trying to mow. Our big problem in the vineyard at the moment is that the vineyard workers weren't able to get in there because of all the rain made all the cover crops grow up and the grass grow up. And the grass is all kind of ripe and all the seeds are coming out. And anyone who has any susceptibility to allergies can't go in there. And one of our sort of main vineyard workers is a bit allergic to grass. So Dad's been zooming around trying to mow it all today and yesterday. And I'm a bit worried that he might have given himself heat stroke today, because he was out there on the mower without a hat on, because he couldn't get his hat and his ear headphone things on at the same time. So yeah, it's all still very exciting here in the vineyard. Never easy. So tell me more about a green harvest, Alison wants to know. So, and Cotty's also asked if green harvest means verjus. Unfortunately not. So green harvest is when you pick some of the grapes early, so that if the vines have got too much crop on them, you take off some of the baby fruits so that the vines can put more energy into what's left on the vine to getting them ripe. And we used to do a green harvest in conjunction with making verjus, but the viticultural wisdom that we have gained and that we've been advised of since then is that the best time to do a green harvest is just prior to veraison, and veraison is when the grapes start changing color and start producing sugar. So if you're dropping fruit just before that starts, then you don't have enough juice and you don't have enough sugar in the grapes to make verjus. You need to let them ripen a little bit more, and then the vines are putting more energy into ripening fruit that you actually ultimately don't want, and less energy into the fruit that you are leaving on. So green harvest these days is too early for verjus, unfortunately, Cotty. I keep asking Jeremy and Richard if we can make verjus again, but they seem fairly adamant that that's not an option. They seem to be very keen on making the best quality wine they possibly can, and they said that making verjus kind of gets in the way of that. So I have to accept that, and I agree with them. So it's a shame. 37 degrees in Adelaide today. Well, I'm very glad I'm not in Adelaide. Too hot. Cotty, your 6 vines have no fruit. Birds are going to go hungry this year. Oh, did they not flower? Did you not get fruit set? Was that the problem, or did something else happen? That's a bit weird, because it's been really good. But also, our peach trees have peaches on them, but the apricot tree didn't didn't flower or fruit at all. So we've got a completely barren 2 apricot trees in the orchard here as well. So it's been a weird season. My cherry tree at home went crazy, and now I'm sort of trying to save some of the cherries from the birds. Super windy on the coast. Oh, Connie, that's going to make it hard for flowering and fruit set. Pinot and Karen, only half a dam. It does feel like it's been wet, but only very recently. Winter itself was quite dry, and so we're still in catch-up mode as far as water collection is concerned. So yeah, it's been wet in the last few weeks, but before that it was pretty dry for a few months. So not a normal year, but then I don't know if we know what normal is anymore, or if that has any meaning, the word normal. Kay, my lemon and lime tree pruned in October are going nuts. Yeah, my lemon tree is going amazing. I need to get into the garden, and I've got like weeds and grass and stuff growing everywhere in my garden at the moment. So this weekend, if I can do it around the rain, I will be giving it a good mow and a good whippersnip, because it's horrible walking through it at the moment. All the grass and the seeds and things are knee high, and the poor old citrus grove is completely swamped by weeds. So yeah, it's an ongoing battle. This battle against nature. You know, a bit of rain is good for the things that we're trying to grow, and also good for the things that we don't want to grow. So it's very tricky. Also, the dogs, my dog, she seems to be quite the magnet for grass seeds at the moment. So I'm pulling grass seeds and burrs and things out of her feet on a daily basis, which is all a bit stressful, but you know, it's all right. It's bonding. Picking at the dog's feet, very bonding. This line has changed again in the glass. If you haven't had a look at it for a little while, have another look. It's really earthy now, and more mushroomy, and more of that pine foresty kind of smoky, almost like a peaty note from this line now. Great weed weather, absolutely, Fiona. If only we could embrace the weeds, it would be fabulous. Lots of margaritas for UK, absolutely. Margaritas, gin and tonics. I actually, before I went to Argentina, I had a heap of lemons from my tree, and I just chopped them all up into little pieces and stuck them in a box in the freezer. So I've got chunks of lemon instead of ice cubes to put in my gin and tonics, which I do like. You can do, if you don't want to have gin and tonics, you can put them in your iced tea as well. It gives it a nice tanginess. Lemon trees, G&T, limes, mojitos. There we go. Okay, I had a feeling. I think you've told me that before. Very organised. You'll notice that things are looking a little bit Christmassy here at Moorooduc. We've got some Christmas presents up on the mantelpiece and a Christmas stocking there. The Christmas tree is up, but I haven't got it on, so I might wait and show it to you next week instead, with all the lights flashing. I think that would be nice. So, guys, how are your mushrooms and your Pinot Noir going? I think it's all looking right. You lost me after if you don't want a gin tonic. Thanks, David. I love that you bring me back to reality. It's very much appreciated. Anyway, so next week, I haven't looked up what we're doing next week. I was so busy worrying about what we're doing this week that I haven't done it. So if someone else can tell me before I get to it, that would be ace. But I'm nearly there now. Buy wine. How is everyone's December going so far? It's pretty ridiculous that it's the 5th of December already. And drinks with Kate box 5, drinks with Kate box 6. Here we go. Wine 3 is Moorooduc Estate Pinot Gris 2019. Hurrah! What? Oh, God, here we go. I just beat you, David. Pinot Gris 2019. Hurrah! Fiona's busy, which probably means that David's pretty busy as well. Kay's bought a caravan. Kay, caravan, how exciting. Will it be pulled by the Rolls Royce, Kay? Kay's got a new Mazda, I think. Fancy new big car to pull the caravan. So where are you going caravanning, Kay? Are you going to take the caravan to South Australia next year? That'll be exciting. I think Sue and Jeff are threatening to buy a caravan as well. We could have drinks with Kate caravan parties as well. Round Australia trip, MUX, Zuzu. There we go. Excellent. Sounds very cool. Anyway, that will be exciting, Kay. We look forward to hearing where you go and where you're about to go in your caravan. And hopefully it's a caravan that's got space for Fiona beat me to it. Champagne and, of course, Moorooduc Estate in that caravan. Hopefully you've got a good wine fridge in there. Nullarbor in March. How fabulous. It'll be so good. Karen, I'm not doing any caravan travels, but I think Kate's going to have a great time. You did pioneer Drinks with Kate around Australia, Peter and Karen, and I think that it would be nice to see some more people doing a bit of Drinks with Kate travel. I think that'll be super fun. So it sounds like December is well and truly maybe a caravan that's just a big fridge. Absolutely, David. I think that's right. Drinks with Kate travel's a great idea. Absolutely. So Karen, I also just noticed, Karen, that you're doing the typing. So does that mean that it's just the girls in the room today? Hopefully you're enjoying the wines with or without Craig. But hopefully you're saving Craig a little bit if he's had to work late, because that would be very sad. A refrigerated truck. Alrighty, so I do have a question for you guys. Do you want me to go full Christmas food for the next couple of weeks? Craig's is in Christmas party season. Yeah, fair enough. He's probably drinking all right, but probably not as well as you guys at home. Do we want to try and go full Christmas food for the next couple of weeks? Or do we just want to go with nice summery kind of deliciousness to go with the Pinot Gris next week? Give me a hoy. Sure. People are saying sure about Christmas food. I think, yeah, okay, cool. Okay, well, let me have a bit of a think about that, and I will I'll send you guys a festive Christmassy email on Monday with a food suggestion. I have to think about what's going to be best with that Pinot Gris. I've got some ideas already, but the 19 Pinot Gris is going to be really fun. I think it's looking really delicious. So that will be nice. Reindeer steaks, damn it. Maybe not with Pinot Gris. We'll see how we go. Anyway, in the meantime, I hope you all have a lovely week. Take care. Keep enjoying your Pinot. I'm here all by myself, so I've just had a little glass. Look how much I've got left. It's so sad. I'm going to take it home. I'm going to put half of it in a half bottle and drink the rest tonight, so that then I can have the rest tomorrow. Take care. Have fun. Behave yourselves. Behave yourselves over the Christmas silly season. Reindeer sashimi. Stop it, David. I'm not having reindeer sashimi. Can't speak. Sashimi, but I'll come up with something very delicious, I promise, for next week. Great to be back on track with Drinks with Kate for our last few weeks before Christmas. See you soon. Take care. Maybe Polly will eat her dinner after this. Okay. Cheers, everyone. Take care. You'll have to find something else, Cotty, or I have a nice big glass of water now. All right. Take care. Leaky bottles are the worst. Cheers, everyone.